Alright, folks, what we're going to do is try to adjust you a little bit so I can get the majority of everything in the kind of a limelight here, and without me being in the way. Okay, what this is it's a 50-foot orange cord. The cord actually, let me get it here. I'm at my workstation here. Okay, see, as you see here, it's kind of burned itself out a little bit. It got wet when used. So what I've done is cut the end off, and what I'm going to do is put it in here and have an extension work light that can go up to 50 feet out. And it's simple. You just pop this out. You can get these from like Menards. I picked this up at Menards for I think it was $1.25, maybe $1.50. They're really not that expensive. They're little cheapy deals. You see here, you got the positive, negative post. That literally is it. And then what you do is you make sure that this has the sleeve, the cardboard sleeve in here. This one's glued in. Sometimes they're not, so you always want to make sure that it is. This one, yeah, maybe it's not glued in. It's just kind of snug. But make sure that it's there, because these contacts, if they come in contact with that when you reinstall it, what will happen is you'll end up, well, electrocuting yourself. So always make sure that that sleeve is there at all times. And this, you see here, is a sleeve here, and this just slides onto that. And then if you have the rod, you can screw that in there and then screw that down to tighten it. But let's go with this for now and cut this open. Okay, now I like to go on the opposite side and do the same thing. You only want to do about an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch of the wiring. You don't need to do that much. Okay, now a lot of people say, well, what about the ground? Well, you actually don't need to ground this. There we go. Because it's just a standard light socket, just like your lamp. It's really not that big of a deal. I mean, you can if you want to spend I think like $1 more to get a grounded light socket service. That would be that. Let's get all this stuff out of the way here. Let's cut that off. Don't need the insulator. Be very careful when using a utility knife for obvious reasons. I'm not promoting someone getting injured. Okay, so if you do this, do it right and do it tight. You see how I got it all separated? Okay. Now at this moment, you see this here, I can actually snap that off, and it really doesn't matter. Okay, you're not looking for the ground. Okay, that's that right there. It should be green. Okay, but it's not. For some reason they are using gray, but I can cut that off. Okay. There, and that really doesn't matter. Now what I need to do is, let's get this little lint out of there. Get this If I was using the stripper pliers that I have, it'd be a whole heck of a lot easier, but a knife will work just as fine. You just got to make sure you cut all the way around. My fingers are a little sweaty here, so there we go. I like to spin the casing on the wire, and I'll show you here in a bit. There we go. You see how it already twists that, so I don't have to use my fingers to retwist that. Fingers are getting a little tired of some of this stuff out of the way here. There we go. Now, what we do is we separate them as much as possible. Now, alright. Normally I would just use a screwdriver because this isn't that big of a deal, but since my drill was right here, I figure I'd just go ahead and use it. What I like to do is create a little hook right in there so it'll hook onto it. Okay, now pull that over. Oh shoot. Guess what I did, folks? I jumped the gun. Yes, sirree, I jumped the gun. I forgot the bottom plate here, but that's alright. We can try to fit this in there. Oh shoot, that screw's in the way. Just take it completely out. Really don't need it. Oh, don't want to get rid of that. That's definitely something that we need, folks. Might have to cut that a little bit bigger. It's not the best looking cut, but all we need is just a slight bigger hole. That's exactly what we got there. It's a little taut, and that's what we want. We don't want a bunch of metal exposed. Now, back to square one again. Now, I make a lot of these believe it or not. Every time I get a extension cord that goes bad on me, I just turn it into either a work light or this one. It's, or just kind of open up to different things, reusing it instead of just throwing the extension cord away. A lot of people they would have no problem in just throwing it away and then turn around and get themselves a new one. Well, what I would do is I would either get a new end, a new end for the female end and replace it, or I just turn it into a work light. It's not that big of a deal. Now, this has to come up here. There we go. Oh, yeah. There we go. And now we just gotta figure out how to snug all this up inside there. That's the downside about this, is you gotta fit all this in there somehow. And a lot of times that screw will stick out. And that's why, well, normally what I would say is, let's go ahead and try to bend that inward there. Okay, I think that bought me a little bit of space. I don't know. We'll try. Yep, there we go. Now I just gotta press, turn, there we go. And now slide this up to cap that off. Make sure that cardboard is in right. And there we go. This just snaps on. There we go. You hear that snap? That's when you know it's on. It's on Cricket though. There we go. Yep, there we go, folks. And now for the magical hour. Let's see. Before I say yes or no to this. Now, don't get me wrong. There's been a few times I've done this, and it ended up by accident putting the wrong wire on the screws because I was in a hurry, and that, oh geez, I can't get this screw in there. I should never have unscrewed it all the way, but I did. And now my tiny little fingers have got to put, or my big fingers got to put this tiny little screw in there. There we go. Now, there, good and snug. Let's see. Let's go ahead and unplug this one. There. Well, there you go, folks. My UV light turned on. Now there you have an extension cord light. 100% cheap. The cord is an old cord that burned out on me, and as you see here, there's some rubber there, and from that I could have just got a new one of these plugs put on the end of it, but due to the fact that I do a lot of maintenance and management of rental properties, every once in a while I'll need a long light to go into different areas and whatnot that's flexible, and so now I can put a light bulb in here and have either a spotlight or a floodlight that will fix or fill the rooms with light if there's no power. I can have a generator sitting outside, bringing the light inside. Boom, bam. And it's all this, believe it or not, I bought the cord about 10 years ago for about 15 bucks. So this little deal here, the light socket, I just bought it from Menards about 3 days ago, and I paid I believe $1.27 for this little light socket. Turns, and I'll go ahead and put my UV light back in here. As you see, let's go ahead and turn that off. As you see, this it works. It's good and tight, snug, and the UV light is definitely broadcasting out. So with that said, this job is done. As you see, all these little red and blue deals here, LEDs. I use this light bulb, I'm going to use this light bulb in my vegetable garden. Stop that light from swinging. That's an LED light as well. Once again, that light that's swinging back and forth, that as well is a light that I made that just plugs into the wall here. And I make all kinds of these all the time. They're cheap. You can have a work light for literally pennies to the dollar, for $1.25, right there, boom, slap it on there. If I would have bought one of these, I looked at Menards when I was out there buying this, and this here, this female plug is actually about $5, whereas this was $1 and I believe $1.27 for this. So I went with the cheap route. Instead of replacing this, I turn it into a light. And I've got dozens of other extension cords, so I'm not too worried about turning this into a light. You saw it work, and there you go. That job is done for today.